Sometimes it feels like these high-profile murder cases, especially ones that go unsolved for years, become almost unreal. Some stories stuck in limbo, half legend, half nightmare. The Long Island serial killer, or LISK, is like that for a lot of people. For years, locals and true crime fans alike have been asking, is the killer still out there? Did they catch the right person? Or is someone lurking in plain sight while everyone tries to move on? Way back in 2010, 4 women's bodies were discovered along Gilgo Beach on Long Island. It was grim. Over the next year, the body count grew, and people started to realize the awful scale of what was happening. Victims were mostly women, mostly working in the sex trade, and many of their disappearances barely registered with the public for years. It was almost as if the system failed them, and in a lot of ways, it absolutely did. The case went cold for over a decade. You'd hear whispers about corruption in Suffolk County, about leads not being followed up, and just a sense that local law enforcement was stuck. It took until 2022, when a new task force was put together, for things to finally change. Almost shockingly fast after that, they homed in on a suspect using old cell phone records. And wild as it sounds, DNA found on a pizza crust. That was the piece that cracked it open. A random bit of discarded pizza matched DNA from a victim. It sounds like something from CSI, but it's all real life. So, who did they arrest? Rex Heuermann, a Manhattan architect, family guy, bland looking to the extreme. Just this regular suburban dude who lived in Massapequa Park and commuted to the city daily. The contrast between normal life and the horror he's now accused of is honestly chilling. As of 2025, he's facing charges for murdering 7 women, but police and prosecutors aren't ruling out even more victims. Some folks believe the real victim count will never be known. The details just get creepier the more you learn. Heuermann supposedly used burner phones and fake online aliases, and was meticulous about not leaving evidence. Prosecutors say he kept tool lists and notes about how to avoid police detection. The investigation found he used a Chevy Avalanche to drive to meet his victims, and there was even eyewitness testimony from someone who described him ogre-like, which is not subtle. But here's what gets a lot of people. Heuermann has pleaded not guilty. He's sitting in a Suffolk County jail cell right now, basically isolated from other inmates because of the nature of the accusations. There's no set trial date as of this summer. Everything's bogged down in hearings and motions, with arguments about DNA evidence and whether it is reliable enough for court. New York has never used some of these new DNA methods before, so there's a legal fight over that. Meanwhile, there are still unsolved murders possibly tied to the case. At least 11 sets of remains were originally found in the area, and as of now, charges only cover 7 of those victims. Suffolk County's district attorney even said earlier this year, until there's concrete evidence, no one is getting officially accused for the other murders. But the task force continues to dig, re-examining old cases, not just in Long Island, but also in places where Heuermann traveled, like South Carolina and Las Vegas. Who knows how far this story actually goes? A lot of the victims' families are still waiting for answers. In the last few months, 2 more bodies found way back in the day were positively identified, a mom and her toddler. Authorities say they might not ever pin every murder on one person unless new evidence comes to light. Was corruption in the early years part of why this case stayed unsolved so long? It sure looks that way, at least from the outside. There was a notorious police chief allegedly keeping feds at arm's length, even discouraging outside help. All that just meant years lost, more opportunities for the real killer to keep going. So is the Long Island serial killer still on the loose? Depends who you ask. On the one hand, Rex Heuermann is locked up and facing trial, with mountains of evidence waiting for courtroom arguments. But no verdict yet. There are more victims than he's charged with killing, and nobody's closing that file until every answer is found. Is there a chance someone else is involved? Maybe, honestly. Or there's a chance the terrible legacy of this case means we'll never know 100% what really happened. If there's one thing everyone learned from this mess, it's how easy it is for something horrible to hide in plain sight when the system looks the other way, or when victims are people the world too easily ignores. There's still work to be done, both in court and in how we treat cases like this. If something changes, it's going to be because people kept asking questions and never let the story disappear again.